This session will be available. It is now officially recording. This session will be available for you to view post. We will follow up with that as well. For this orientation, attendance is required, so we will continue to populate the chat with the bit.ly for the attendance form, which you will be required to complete today. We do ask that you save your questions for the end of the presentation, because we will go through the presentation and we've parked ample time for us to be able to go through everything and answer all the questions you have. We will also be sending out your school partnership agreements after this call today. And again, we are recording this session. We know it's been a long day. We're happy to see you guys. And as happy as we are to see you guys, I'm going to ask you to do two things. Turn off your cameras. So give a little quick wave to everyone first. Let's all turn off our cameras, turn off our mics. Since we have such a high volume of attendance, that will help boost this PowerPoint presentation. Okay, so if everyone could do that right now, please, we'd appreciate it. Okay, so hello and welcome to the DC Collaborative's Arts and Humanities for Every Student School Orientation. And again, as you know, Arts and Humanities Access leads to student success. And this school year is a unique school year, but the DC Collaborative is here to ensure that you have all of the arts and humanities access opportunities through our members. And we've been doing this work equitably for the past 23 years in partnership with our members. We envision the collaborative working with DC Public Schools and our public charter school friends that are on today for providing integrated arts and humanities with core subjects that you can provide to all students. And we have all pre-K through 12th grade public school students having equitable access to these opportunities, even during a time of COVID, especially during this time of COVID. And we've already beta tested some really awesome programs that you'll learn about today. And we know that these virtual platforms are going to pair very nicely with your learning. So the community is here for you. The DC Collaborative is here for you. We're really proud of this new iteration of Arts and Humanities for Every Student virtually. It will also include professional development learning opportunities. These are all experiences, experiential learning that our members are providing. We also, which you'll learn, which is very exciting, have expanded our distance learning resource database, and we'll be sharing that link as well throughout the meeting. But I'd like to hand the mic over to my colleagues to get the conversation started.
Hello, everyone. My name is Trés McMichael, and I'm the Education Programs Manager here at the DC Collaborative. Some of you may have had conversation with me over the summer and at the tail end of last year, and we're really excited to have all of you back working with us in this capacity, and we're really excited for all the programs that we have coming up. Tracey, you can go to the next slide. So in my role, I work with all of our member organizations to make sure that the programs that they're offering are high quality for all of your students and for you. And a big part of that is making sure that those programs connect to curriculum standards, whether it's Common Core or DC standards, specifically the DC Arts Learning Framework is something that we've used this year. Those are all things that we do to help make it easier for you to transition the contents from the programs that we're offering directly to your classrooms. And so all of our members are encouraged to provide learning standards, and you'll see those in the lottery submission form as well as the catalog page that you'll learn about shortly. Our providers are also encouraged to give materials to you in advance of the programs to help you better understand what is happening and to prepare your classrooms for what we'll be doing in the programs. Tracey, you can go ahead to the next slide. So during the year, you will be using what we call our lottery system. So our lottery system is a survey that you all can go on to, and it gives you an opportunity to select which of the programs you're interested in attending for the year, which virtual programs you're interested in attending for the year. And so next week, our lottery program will actually go live, and you'll be able to see all of those things. We ask that the key communicator of your school is the one who completes the lottery submission form on behalf of your teacher. And so our key communicator is basically the person at your school who is our main point of contact at the collaborative. And so the person who will relay all the information about the program for you. They'll collect any permission slips or release forms that are needed and give those to your students. They ensure that the student-teacher reflections are also complete, which we'll hear about in a little bit as well. But basically, the key communicator is the person that you will go to directly to get all of the information that you need to know about your program. They'll be CC'd on all of the confirmation emails, and we will go through them as well to get to you directly. And so if you're not a key communicator, we encourage you to figure out who that key communicator is at your school. We know that all of the schools have one. And if you're new to being your key communicator and need some assistance in what that looks like, feel free to reach out to us as well. I'm going to pass it off to my colleague, BoBeen, now.
Hello, my name is BoBeen. Can you? Oh, okay. And I coordinate assessment-related work at the collaborative. Many of you may know me from many reminder emails in your inboxes. First, thank you for all the teachers who have completed assessment for us FY19 and 20. For those who are new to the collaborative and AHFES, assessment is an integral part of your student experience that provides them an opportunity to reflect on their experience after the program. With pivoting ourselves to the virtual setting, assessment is ever more important this year. Responses from you and your students will provide member organizations immediate and helpful feedback based on what they have adapted to create a virtual experience and environment. Previous slide, please, Tracey. Assessment is also a tool for us to measure our member organizations' programming to ensure quality and inclusivity for our students. And most importantly, I create assessment reports with gathered data, which will assist with securing grant money that further our mission of service and providing equitable access to the arts and humanities for all of our students. And teachers and student reflections are shared in Google Forms format. There is one teacher reflection and 3 different types of reflections based on 3 grade bands. There will be 2 ways that we will share them with you. First is that member organization's facilitator will share the links of teacher and student assessment near the end of your virtual field trip. Another will be me emailing them to you the day of your virtual experience. And of course, we advise you to fill them out as early as possible. Next slide, please, Tracey. Okay, on the left, here is a screenshot of how you will receive emails from me, which is different from previous years to make things a little easier for you. You'll receive the actual assessment forms straight in your inbox the day of your field trip. It'll be right there for you to fill them out, and you'll receive 2 of them, one for you and one for your students. And these are also mobile friendly if that helps you and your students. For suggestions, I highly recommend doing it as quickly as you can. It will be best if you can schedule around 5 to 10 minutes for student reflections right after your virtual field trip. And again, links will be shared in the chat box by the facilitator of the virtual program to make that possible. For in any case that the links are not given to you during your experience, or you cannot have the students to fill it out right away, you can forward the email that you received from me or the assessment link to your school's learning platform, for example, Canvas or Google Classroom, as part of your students' learning. And the way to have a link is over in the top of the email. It says fill out in Google Forms, and copy and paste the URL of that page. And I would like to end my portion by saying thank you in advance to all of your participation with assessment for your AHFES virtual experience. And please don't hesitate to email me at bobeen@dccollaborative.org with any questions or concerns. Thank you.
Thank you, BoBeen. That's very helpful and very informative. And again, I just want to echo that the assessment piece is very important for us in ensuring that we are able to make sure that these opportunities continue to happen. A lot of our members use that feedback that you give them to help secure grants to make sure that the cost for these programs are either no cost or very, very low. So we appreciate all of the feedback that you give us, and it also helps make sure that our programs are continuing to be high quality and better for you and your students. The next part that we want to talk about is accessibility. And Tracey, you can go ahead to the next slide. So something that's really core to the DC Collaborative is equity, and we believe that the arts and humanities education is essential for all students, no matter what level of ability they come. And so for that reason, we ask that if any of your students require any accessibility needs, that you let us know that 30 days in advance of your program. If you let us know 30 days in advance of your program, we're able to reach out to our member and accommodate that. So for virtual learning, whether that's having some type of written out script or having a sign language interpreter, we do have required for all of our members closed captioning. And so whether it's through Google Meets or through the Teams account that we'll be using, there will be closed captioning that captures the speaker's voice in real time so that those students can visually read along with what is happening. Or if there's some type of other tactile need, we just ask that you let us know 30 days in advance so that we can give enough advance notice to our members. It'll also be a question that you'll see pop up on the lottery form about whatever your accessibility needs might be for your students. The next thing that we'll talk about is our cancellation policy. And this is new this year. So previously, our cancellation policy has been that you need to let us know in advance, and then you may incur an invoice from us for the cost of transportation, the cost of all tickets that weren't not used. However, that's gone through a change this year. And so this is very important. So if you have to cancel your trip, you need to let us know 30 days in writing in advance of the trip. You need to email that to schools@dccollaborative.org. You may write it down right now if you want, but you will be getting all this information in some documents that you'll get after this, as well as in the partnership agreement. But you do want to put the cancellation line in the subject, but it's very important that you let us know in advance. And so if you do not let us know 30 days in advance of your field trip that you're canceling, that'll be a warning against you. If your class or another teacher at your school has another warning, your school will be barred from participating in collaborative field trips for the 2021 year. And so that's very important. So your school only gets one warning prior to not being able to go on trips with us anymore. And that's for a lot of reasons. The main one is just the amount of cost that our members as well as us have in making sure that the trips are run. Although that most of these trips are at no cost to you or your school, there is a cost associated with them. And the average field trip that the collaborative sponsors for schools is about $1,000. And so when schools cancel at the last minute or are unable to pay that fee, many of our members who are relying on grant money are unable to reconcile that funds. And during the time of COVID, that's very important. The other instance is if your school cancels within 48 hours of a field trip or a virtual event, there's no warning given. Your school will just be barred from participating in the current lottery or future lotteries. So the way around that is you may pay a $100 fine to the collaborative, a kind of cancellation fine, and then that will again allow your school to be able to participate in the lottery once more. And if you have any questions about that, or if that's still confusing, it goes into more detailed language in our membership agreement, not our membership agreement, our school partnership agreement about that new cancellation policy. But all in all, you get a warning if it's 30 days ahead. Second warning is barred from being able to participate in programs. And under 48 hours cancellation is no warning, but barred from being able to participate in the programs. And that is school-wide. And so it is not just teacher-specific, but it's school-specific. And it's the responsibility of the key communicators to have an understanding of whether school teachers are canceling and making sure that they're confirming their trips. Moving on to another part of that, there's also a reservation reduction policy. And so very similarly to the cancellation policy, if you or someone from your school reserves, let's say 50 tickets, and then they're, the day of the program, they only come with 20, that's considered a reduction of greater than 10% of the original request. And that's also a warning. And so you need to be aware of both of those things. So if you say that you're going to have 50 students that day, make sure to show up with 50 and not less than 10% of what the original reservation is, because that's also will cause a warning. The next part that we're going to go over is the lottery dates. And so this is very important as well. The lottery, which I mentioned before, which Tracey is going to walk us through in just a moment, is, again, the system that you use to register for all of the programs that we have. And so September 7th, which is next Monday, the lottery for the fall will open. And it'll be open the entire week. So from that Monday to that Friday, you'll be able to go on and you can register for all of the programs that you want to just happen for the fall. And so our fall lottery is between October and December. And that's when all of those programs happen. And you'll be able to go on our website in advance and see which programs you're interested in participating in prior to submitting your request on the lottery. And then the winter lottery is December 7th, and the spring lottery opens on March 1st. So now I'm going to toss it over to Tracey, who's going to walk us through what online registration for the lottery looks like.
Thanks, Trey. And I'm going to switch to just sharing the screen and away from the presentation. As you saw in the presentation, you can get to the online catalog at dccollaborative.org/AHFES. But if you're on our homepage, you can just click on the AHFES online catalog for schools. And Trey has worked really hard with our members, and everything is already up on this lottery page. So you can go ahead to the online catalog now and start to look at the different experiences we have. And we're sticking to the same way that we did the lottery last year with SurveyMonkey and being able to fill in all of your events in one form. But to get to the form, you go through the online lottery page. If you have an organization that you know that you want to search for, like for example, Pulitzer Center, you can do like Command F or Control F and find them. You can also jump to grade level to take you to experiences that are appropriate for the grades. And then you click on the date. As you can see, most of the dates are TBD, and Trey has encouraged our members to do that because of like the nature of this year, and we just want to be really sensitive to the individual scheduling needs of you guys, of the schools. We know it's different by school, so it was really hard to advise our members on the timing of programs. So as you can see, the program description is here. This member listed specific dates. You can, and it also has all of the experiences that are available. You can select the experience that you want by clicking on the lottery request form. And then I'll go back to sharing the presentation. So the AHFES registration form is pretty much the same as last year. So you would fill in your school information. Oh, I'm sorry, my mouse is a little sensitive. Okay, so you fill in your school information and then you would select the program provider. Something that is different, under the school name, it's a drop-down list. To find your school, you can just start typing in your school name so you don't have to scroll through all of them. and just make sure, like, if you're at Tyler Elementary, just try multiple submissions so it's not like John Tyler. It's Tyler in the dropdown. If you still can't find your school in the dropdown, please email us at schools@dccollaborative.org. And the key communicator needs to be referenced, as well as a teacher attending. And then you'll scroll through and select the program provider. And then you'll select the program if applicable. And then you'll go ahead and fill in a date and time preference. Please select all of the times that work with your school. And these are for the events that have specific dates. For the events that say TBD, Trey has changed the form to have you indicate a day of the week that is best for you, as well as like morning or afternoon. So it's a little more general so that when the member contacts you or when we contact you, we're able to schedule the event with you. So please, please pay attention to the many emails that you get from us. And then at the end of the form, if you would like to request another office program, you would hit yes, and it would take you back to where you would select the provider. You don't need to fill in the school information again. And that is it. If anyone has questions, they can put it in the chat, and I will turn it over to my colleague, Yasmine, to explain the confirmation emails now.
Hi, everyone. Just checking in that you can hear me because I was having tech issues. Okay. So, hi, I'm Yasmine. To briefly chat about the confirmation emails that you'll be receiving from us, the teacher attending and the key communicator will both receive a confirmation email and a one-week reminder. And the confirmation email will look the same as it did last year, except for a couple logistics that pertain specifically to virtual trips, like you'll receive the link to your event, and there won't be a couple things that are only relevant to in-person trips, like program pickup time. And we are trying out calendar invites this year. As you know, this is a big transition for us. And we're still seeing what works best both for us and for you. So we're going to try out calendar invites and see if it makes it easier to access the trips and have these reminders sent to everyone and keep these events on our calendars. So we're going to be trying that out for this season. So please make sure you RSVP yes when you get those calendar invites, in addition to answering your confirmation emails. Next slide, please. School reservation sheet. You'll be getting a school reservation sheet with your confirmation email. And this is kind of the home of all the information that you're going to need about your trip, everything from program start time, end time, amount of students, the organization, member organization organizing the trip, everything you need to know, really. The one pictured is going to be a little different from the one for your virtual trips, just because there will be a couple more logistics that only pertain to virtual trips. In terms of field trip best practices and what we ask of you before the experience is to make sure that all the details on your sheet are correct and make sure you're responding to those confirmation emails and RSVPing yes to that calendar invite. Make sure you're in touch with your administration for approval to double check that there's no testing or conflicting events on the day or time of the trip. And we touched on this a little bit earlier, but let us know if there's any accessibility needs in advance. Things like ASL interpretation and other accessibility accommodations. And do let us know in advance as well if there's any ticket reductions. And on the day of the trip, we ask that you make sure your cell phone is accessible in case we need to get in touch with you. And if you do need to get in touch with us, you can reach us at the number on this slide. And make sure you keep that experience link on hand for the day of the trip. And let us know if you're having any tech issues. I know I sure did today. So things happen. So make sure that you do get in touch with us if there are any tech issues. And after your virtual experience, make sure that you complete both teacher and student reflections and send us any screenshots or photos to schools@dccollaborative.org, which is also where you'll be sending any questions. And make sure you complete those reflections because it helps us continue providing experiences that are great both for your teachers and your kids. And I'll turn it over to Wendy.
Hi, everybody. It's nice to see some familiar faces and names here. You might have gotten my emails before of very gentle reminders for surveys after field trips, or maybe from the National Cherry Blossom Festival art contest that we had earlier this year. So today I'm here to tell you a little bit about our professional development opportunities. We invite you to register for discounted opportunities here through our member organizations. Tracey, can you go on to the next slide? So, oh, let's see. I think there's a slide. Oh, is that the only one? Okay, sorry. Yeah, I wanted to tell you that. So you would be provided a certificate of attendance and a syllabus and agenda so that you can turn into OSSE and your school administration for relicensure. We also have professional development institutes throughout the year that focus on arts integration and social emotional learning. Okay, and on this, on our website, once you get there, there will be a button for you to sign up and register for our PD events, like this slide here. And can you go on to the next slide, please? So please note that the PD registration is done on a rolling basis, not by lottery cycle, unlike the field trips that you'll be signing up for. And our workshops are also offered through the, they're offered through our DC Collaborative member providers. Teachers would work with experienced arts educators to learn to use dance, music, theater, visual arts, and the humanities to teach academic lessons and address relevant learning standards. And by the time, so once you get to our website, you'll click on the dates where it would come up, and that's where you would be led to the external Eventbrite page to submit your registration information. And note that do not submit a form on behalf of another teacher, only do that for yourself. Okay. So Trey will tell you about the distance learning resource database now.
Thank you, Wendy. So just to, I see some questions in the chat, and we'll get to them shortly. But we do have a lot of different types of programs that are being offered this year. In music and in dance and theater and in history and art history. And so once you go on the catalog, we really encourage you to explore all of that. And it'll show you what we have to offer this year for virtual, interactive, synchronous programs, as well as asynchronous programs. What I want to show you right now is something very exciting, and it is our distance learning resource database. And so back in March, once we were able to kind of figure out what was going on, and we wanted to make sure that arts and humanities education was still happening, regardless of whether schools are in person or not, we created our distance learning resource database. And there'll be a direct link to the distance learning resource database shared in the chat shortly. But if you're going from our homepage, which is dccollaborative.org, there's a button right here that says Distance Learning Resource Database. Once you click on that button, it'll take you here to our Distance Learning Resource Database homepage. And our database now has over 150 local arts and humanities organizations submissions. So there's lesson plans, there's resources, there are videos of performances, there are all sorts of things. And a really cool thing about this, you can scroll down and click on the buttons that take you to visual arts, performing arts, or humanities. Or you can see at the top here, there are drop downs. And so, for example, if you were to go to visual arts, you see those early childhood, elementary school, middle school, and high school resources. So for all of the program, for all visual arts, performing arts, and humanities, they're broken down like that into those age groups. And so, for example, if you go to humanities for high school students, it would take you here. And again, most of these, or really all of these resources that are here are coming directly from our members in DC. So the Smithsonian, the Kennedy Center, the Spy Museum. So if you were to click on one, like let's see, what's a great one? The Pulitzer Center on Crisis Reporting, it would show you some of their different resources. And so Fighting Words Poetry Competition, or their online film festival, virtual journalist visits. It'll give you a description, what content areas specifically they apply to. So here would be digital media, writing, reading, and journalism, as well as what learning standards that member has provided us that apply to that resource. Everything here on the distance learning resource database is free. So there's no cost associated with them, and everything is asynchronous. And so they can be done at your own pace and on your own time. And then, so if you were to click on a program, there's a hyperlink that would take you directly to whatever it is. And again, that's things in visual arts and the performing arts and the humanities, like National Gallery of Art, National Portrait Gallery, Project Create. So many wonderful resources that are continuously being added to. I mean, there are 150 now, but that, we expect that to grow every single week as members continue to update their resources and provide them to us. Other things that are on here are additional resources. And so these are national programs and national resources that are not necessarily DC specific, but that we've gathered and put here as well. And so National Geographic Distance Learning, Smart History, Digital Theater, Artful Schools. These are all also typically free resources. And on the additional resources page, there's a combination of visual arts, performing arts, and humanities. And so there's the Space Foundation, what's going on in this picture, which is really fun, National Trust for Historic Preservation, a lot of different resources here that you can use. We also have a tab with professional development as well. And so these are mostly articles, webinars, and other things that are specifically for teachers or parents to help them better adjust to distance learning. So there are guides of teaching theater online, how do you do that? A resource to supporting families with young children who are working from home. So there are great things here for parents as well as for teachers, administrators, anyone who's working with our students and wants to help better connect them to arts and humanities learning. And so this is something that you can use in your class. You can share it with your students to use on their own. We also encourage you to share it with your parents. We've had several parents over the summer reach out to us looking for resources for their students outside of summer camp or outside of class while they're at home. And many of them have been able to do several of the projects or watch some of the concerts and videos that are included on here. Again, all for free. And then this content submission form is mostly for our members. Again, this is where they can go to submit the information to submit everything to be put on here for the distance learning resource database. So we hope that this is something that you use in your classes and that you find great value in. We've heard a lot of great feedback from some of you already about using this with your parents and with your students. So we hope that you share this with your colleagues as well. Again, it'll be continuously populated throughout the year. This is not COVID specific, but is now a part of our framework at the DC Collaborative. So I'm now going to stop sharing my screen. And Tracey, you can go ahead and share your screen again and take us through the next part of the presentation.
Sure.
Hi, Yasmine hopping back in. We covered this a bit earlier, but our communications policy is that we do ask that you respond to any written communication via email within 48 hours. And we send out confirmation emails to confirm that your class was selected for the lottery, and we'll also send out a 1-week reminder. And week of reminder emails if you haven't responded to either of these. So please be sure to look at your school sheet and confirm that all the information is correct. And we do ask that you confirm within 48 hours of the DC Collaborative's lottery confirmation we ask that the teacher attending confirms with their correct and updated contact info and cell phone so that we can make sure to get in touch with you in case we need to.
Okay, thank you so much, Yasmine, and thank you to the teachers for being here too. We will send out this PowerPoint. There's a link to meeting handouts, which we'll put in the chat. And I guess, BoBeen, you said you were taking notes on some of the questions that were in the chat throughout the presentation. I couldn't really see the chat because I had the presentation on full screen. So.
Yeah, I see a couple of the questions here. So hi, Lena. The partnership agreement will be available through a PDF this year, and it does need to be returned to us electronically. And so one of the things that you'll see in the email that we send to you following this presentation tomorrow is that we're encouraging you all to use DocuSign to enable a digital signature. And so that's a Google Drive add-on that you can use so that you can sign it through a PDF and then send it to your administrator at your school to also sign through the PDF and then return it to us via email as a PDF.
I have a couple of questions here. Joanna asks, are there any organizations offering recorded performances, concerts, and tours?
Yeah, so there are many of our organizations are offering concerts and tours. And so some of our museums are offering digital tours as well as just taking you through some of their exhibits virtually. You can see all of that in the catalog. We also have some dance concerts and some music concerts as well, like DC Strings, the Washington Bach Consort, Dance Loft on 14th, and so they're all different programs. Michelle asked, is there a fee this year? A fee for the programs or a fee for being a member of the collaborative? I'm not sure exactly what you could be a little more specific there. The program. Okay, so on the lottery form, some of our programs are not free. And so that's another thing that's important is when you go through the lottery, you'll see whether or not there's a cost associated with that specific program. For most of our programs, the cost is not more than $4 for per student. So like some of them may be $1, some of them may be $3 or $4, and it'll be listed there. And then you'll go through the member directly to pay for that fee. And some of our programs are also just a flat fee. So if your school is interested in having an assembly with several hundred students virtually, some of our members are prepared to do that. But there is a flat fee for that is more than, it's not necessarily a $4 student, it's just either $100 or $200 for that program. But again, that is listed in the website. And so if you need to get in contact with the member and make them adjust their fees, you can let us know and we can give you their contact information. But we do ask that prior to signing up for the program that you make sure that you know whether or not your school might have the funds to pay for that program that's on there.
There was another question by Leah. Do we have to sign up again this year, or do we just let you know that we are going to be members again?
Schools will sign up through the school partnership agreement. So that will be coming out after the meeting. and with a recap blog that he is going to write that links all of the meeting handouts and information.
I see a question by Jordan about the penalties for schools in regards to missing field trips. So again, we're just asking for communication here. So all of our programs are virtual. And so if you know that your classes are not going to be able to attend that program, or if it may be difficult for you to attend that program, we just would ask that you communicate that with us well in advance, so that we're able to tell our members, because they are also working on a schedule as well. And so the penalties are, there've always been kind of penalties for cancellations, or at least warnings given, but this year we're just being a little more strict with that. So hopefully that answers your question.
I just wanted to add on to that we took a lot of time. This is why the partnership agreement is coming out later. We took a lot of time to make sure our cancellation policies were in alignment with DCPS central office. And the reason why we changed our policies from before was because of COVID, of course, too, but also because we needed to be in alignment with DCPS and the procurement laws of DC. So instead of having a cancellation charge like we have in the past and invoicing, we thought that another way to enforce it would be to bar participation from future lotteries, but we gave you a way back in. And of course, we know that it's way more challenging with COVID. I'm also doing childcare right now, but yeah, we know it's way more challenging with COVID. And as long as you communicate with us well in advance, we can be pretty understanding.
And I see the question about Title I schools being excluded of fees. And so I'll answer that in two parts. And so for those programs that are not free of charge for schools, if you need assistance in paying, you would go through the member directly about the fees. And so the DC Collaborative is no longer subsidizing the cost of programs. We're now working just directly through our practitioners and our member organizations for those needs. In terms of the cancellation policy, we have not talked about excluding Title I schools from that fee, since it is something that can be avoided just with a communication. But if you get into a situation where your school has received 2 warnings and you can no longer pay, or you're unable to pay the $100 fee to be readmitted into DC Collaborative programming, reach out to us, and I'm sure that we can have some type of agreement, or we can make some type of adjustment. We're flexible as well during this time, so don't be afraid to just communicate what your needs are. Katie asked about if the online catalog is applicable to all the lottery dates. So the catalog as it is right now are just programs that are up for the fall. And so the next lottery's programs won't be available until about a week or 2 prior to the lottery opening. And so in December 7th is when the winter lottery opens. So you can expect to see on the catalog winter programs starting in late November. Sorry, I'm just reading through. Susanna asked, how do we send the money? So if it's a cancellation fee, you would just send that directly through to the collaborative. If it's a fee for a program specifically, again, you would work with the member directly.
Susanna asked to pay for student tickets. So if it's the cancellation fee, the invoice will come from the collaborative. But if it's for tickets or reservations, the member will send the invoice. And Mr. Guerrero, thank you for letting us know about the DCPS doesn't have regular classes on Wednesdays. Mary Lambert had flagged that day for us, so we will I'm sure Trey will be sure to pass that along during our provider orientation. A lot of them are still TBD. And Michelle, in the past, Michelle asks if we have to go through our school contact person or no. In the past, only key communicators only were able to sign up for trips. But this time, any educator is allowed to sign up for trips, but the key communicator will be copied on all of the school schedule. The key communicator's email needs to be in your lottery reservation form.
I see your question, Doug, about if my school can't pay for a program, I should ask the program for support in making that happen, right? And that's correct. So you would ask the member. So for example, if African Art Museum cannot, has a fee that's like $3 for their program, and your school is unable to pay that, you would ask the African Art contact for a waiver for that. You would not a contact that is we have been talking about how to help some of those transportation issues that we have had in the past. As of right now, we aren't sure when programs are going to be happening in person again. So, like I said before, all of our programs for the fall are virtual through the beginning of January 2021. However, our winter lottery may also be virtual. So even if schools go back in person in January, we know that some schools may not be allowing students to go out of the building and to have, out of school programs. And so we may have virtual programs as well for the winter lottery. And so that's something to just be aware of. But once we do have in-person programs again, I'm sure that we'll communicate what those transportation changes are at the appropriate time. And then Adrian asked, what's the minimum number and the maximum number of students who can experience the trips? So that's something that you will see on both the catalog pages for our members as well as the lottery. And so when you go through the lottery, it'll show you a description, the date, the time, the learning standards, as well as the maximum number of students. For many of our programs, some of them are asynchronous, and so they don't have a limit. But for some of them, they do have a specific limit that may be 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 students.
Michelle asked if we had specific questions, can she just email one of us? And yes, in the meeting handouts, we have a list of everybody on the DC Collaborative staff that you've met today with their emails on there. So I will share that document here so you can see it now.
BoBeen, we have a question about assessment, if you would like to answer that for Mr. Uriel. Oh, you're on mute, BoBeen.
Sorry about that. I already have answered it, but
Right.
Our Google Forms don't require your Google account. So as long as they have the link or the form forwarded in an email to your students, they can answer it and fill it out without any account issues through Google.
Judy asked, who will be responsible for canceling the field trip? Will it be the teacher or the key communicator? Really either one, as long as the specific answer, like the teacher that's attending and the class that's attending, and what the program was. And so it can be the key communicator that sends that information, or it can be you CCing the key communicator on, that you'll be canceling your trip. But we just ask that someone from the school let us know if you're going to be canceling your field trip. And be specific about the teacher that was attending and what the program was. If you are not a key communicator and you submit the lottery form, that's okay. So you can submit the lottery as someone who's not a key communicator. We usually suggest that all of the key communicators submit the lottery, as you do have to submit who the key communicator at your school is on the lottery. But as long as you have your key communicator's information, their email, their number, and other information about them, then you can, as an individual teacher, submit the lottery form. And so if you're not the key communicator, but you want to register, you can go through that form directly, as long as you include who the key communicator is at your school in the responses. So Susanna asked, if 20 students have to pay $4 each, is there an account, or do we pay through Zelle? Or again, you would not go through the DC Collaborative if there is a ticket cost or reservation cost. So the DC Collaborative will not be invoicing you at all for any ticket costs or costs associated with the program. All of those costs will come directly through our member organizations. And so if our member has a $4 ticket cost, or any of our teaching artists, you would work with them to figure out how it is that they best need to get that payment. You wouldn't work with us to get that. The only time you would receive an invoice from the DC Collaborative is if there's a cancellation and your school would like to pay the $100 fee to begin participating in programs again. Most of the programs will be compatible with Microsoft Teams. And so there are some programs that will be hosted in a DC Collaborative platform. All programs hosted in the DC Collaborative platform will be through Teams. And there are some programs that our members have elected to use their own platform, and they may not be using Teams. And so you will have to work with them directly to figure out what platform is best for you. Something that I can suggest as well is if it's just your class going on this virtual program, you can invite our members into your classroom. And so if you have a Teams classroom with all of your students and you want them to come through and to participate in the program, you can send those members the invite to your classroom so that they can best work with your students. Jordan asked, said the classes are shorter this year, and with wonky schedules this year, how are the artists and programmers handling shorter times? So our programs are all, for the most part, under an hour or an hour. And so we've recommended that most of our members keep their programs short, since your class times will be shorter this year. And again, they are going to work with you directly to fill whatever needs you have. And so you'll see on the catalog and on the lottery, again, like Tracey mentioned earlier, many of the times are listed as TBD. And that's because once you register or indicate that you're interested in their program, we're going to send your information to those members so that you can best work out a schedule that they can do the program that fits into your class time, so that it's any way that you can be able to participate.
Jen, no need to apologize. To find out who your key communicator is, you can either email the DC Collaborative team, and we can let you know if we have a partnership agreement already on file. If not, the partnership agreement is where you will indicate who the key communicator is. And principals have to sign off on it as well. I guess you would have to go back and forth with your principal to see if someone else already elected to be key communicator for this year. But you can email us either at the schools@dccollaborative.org, or one of us, and we can check who your key communicator was last year for you.
Jordan asked if they're willing to come multiple times if our classes are only 30 minutes. And so that's something that you have to ask with our members directly. And so some of our members are only slated to give one-time programs. And a lot of that is actually just because of the background checks. And so if they have to go to your class more than once, there are some other clearance things that our members need to do that they don't have to do if they're just coming to your class one time. And so some of our members may be unable to do that, but other ones may be able to do that, or they can just fit their program into a 30-minute time block. Okay, I'm seeing that it is 5:30, and I think we answered most of the questions in here. If you have additional questions, though, feel free to either email myself or Tracey or really anyone at the team, and we can get back to you on what that answer is. But we hope that this has been helpful for all of you, and we're really, really excited for you to participate in programs, and we're excited to be able to continue to offer programs this year. We're really happy that arts and humanities education is still happening even amongst COVID, and we are happy that all of you are also participating in that as teachers. We know how difficult this has been and very different. I'm sure that this week and last week has been very challenging for all of you. And so we're really happy that you're committing to helping your students engage in arts and humanities in schools, even through this challenging time.
And I see Mr. Robinson's question. We will have a announcement about who the new school partnerships manager will be shortly. For now, I am probably your best contact. You can email me or Trey. That would be great. And then the schools at dccollaborative.org account will be monitored by the new school partnerships manager. So you can also reach out to that, and one of us will get back to you. The announcement should be coming like within the next day or two, though. So we'll get back to you really soon. So thank you all so much, and we'll be in touch probably tomorrow morning with the meeting resources and the partnership agreement. Thank you.